Hi everyone! Welcome back to Window Chats with Robyn, the Instagram live where I sit by my window and talk with very interesting people. Today we have Mark Selby and I'm very excited. I'm a little worried because we have a 30-minute time frame and I do tend to ramble, but I have faith in myself that I will keep to the timeline. I have a clock, I have my husband at the ready to tell me when I'm over time, and also Mark seems pretty on the ball, so I think we'll do it. The question is, will he be able to log in? Will Instagram work today? I mean, there's so many factors that can go wrong with these Instagram lives. I almost wonder, am I torturing myself by continuing to do them? I don't think so. Oh, good morning, Corey. Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you. That's very polite. I'm trying to get used to all the comments going on while I ramble. So, you know, it's one of those things. I don't really know how to do that. But I thought everyone should know that I don't know how to do that. Good morning, Erin. Mike, I noticed how you haven't said good morning to me, even though we just spoke. That's fine. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm going to try to invite Mark in. Oh, he's here. Okay, I'm going to do it. Send request. Getting excited. And hopefully it works. We'll find out. Because anything can go wrong on Instagram Live. Still not liking that song. It needs work. I'll figure it out at one of these days. Mike, oh, thank you, Mike. Hi, Naomi. Let's try. Oh, yes, it worked. Oh my God, that's the scariest part of this. There you go. And now we're fine. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good.
This is my first time going live on Instagram.
You never forget your first, so thank you for being part of this journey with me.
Happy to do it. I wouldn't do it with anyone else.
Oh.
Well, that's not true. There's a number of people I would probably do it with.
See, you just revoked the compliment so quickly. I'm like, okay.
I'm kidding.
It's fine. It's fine. Now, before we begin our chat, are you okay with your framing, with the lighting?
Well, no, but I mean, it is what it is. Hold on, let me try something here.
Okay. I want you to feel comfortable on screen. Right now, I think I look like a weird yellow-orange, but it's not about me. It's about my guests. So there you go.
Let me see if I do this. It might make it a little brighter.
You can add a filter. I think that's a thing too. I don't know.
No,
I'm still learning.
Are for teenage girls.
You don't want to add the animals with the tongue popping out? That's always ridiculous. So
I should have left well enough alone.
I see, and it's fine. Now we're on a journey. Where are you? That's cool.
Here we are. I've been working out of an office in Rosedale. Oh, and there we go. It just keeps falling. Hold on. I think I got something to stabilize it here. I've been working out of an office in Rosedale. It's a very empty office aside from me and the executive producer on the projects I've been working on lately. So I'm in a meeting room in one corner of the office. He's in his office down the hall, and then there's nobody else practically in the rest of the space. I think you lost viewers in the time it took me to arrange my phone here.
You think what?
I think you lost viewers in the time it took for me to get my phone working. And
it's not about the number, and that if they're not willing to stick around for the journey, they don't deserve to watch this. I also save it afterwards anyway, so it's fine. But
okay.
Yeah, just like, what is this guy? I can't figure out his setup. I'm out. It's all good. But no, I mean, it's your first time doing an Instagram Live. I have some kind of stand that I use, but I can't figure out the lighting, so I don't think there's a win. I'm just excited to chat with you because you are fascinating. I literally had to print out your bio because I'm like, I don't know if I'll remember half the things you're doing. But one thing that wasn't in your bio, and I'm wondering if you're willing to talk about this, did you direct Jerry Springer the Opera?
Yes.
Okay, because I had Ian Bender on and he was in it, and I said, this is a thing? Yes, okay. It was
fantastic. So there were two productions of Jerry Springer the Opera in Canada. The very first production was directed by Richard Izunian, and I assisted him. It was at Hart House Theatre, and it was I think it was the best-selling show in the history of Hart House Theatre. So they did something they'd never done before, which was they brought it back in the fall, and everybody was invited back. Richard was invited back to direct it. Everyone who was in the show, who worked on the show, who was in the band, everybody was invited back. And Richard had another obligation. He couldn't do it, but because I assisted him the first time around, I was able to sort of recreate his vision, and we made a couple of small changes. And most of the cast was back, and those that couldn't, we recast those roles. So I assistant directed the first one and then directed the second production. And it was a ton of fun.
I believe there were 3 acts. That's what I remember Ian saying, but I could have been wrong. Oh no. Am I right? I thought you froze also at one point. You just didn't move, and I'm like, oh, am I talking to no one? But you also, no. you don't move a lot. I'm learning so much about you.
Well, that's not really true because I'm Jewish, so I talk with my hands a lot.
I know, that's why I'm like, is it frozen? No, he should.
My hands are out of frame, so it's hard to, can't really see them. Hey, Fab is on. Hey, Fab.
That's happy Passover, by the way. That's coming up.
Chag Sameach to you too. It is coming up.
Are you excited?
No. I find it interesting that obviously Passover was like the first major holiday after the first lockdown last year, and everybody kind of adapted, and everybody's grandparents who weren't familiar with technology learned how to Zoom. And we did it again for the high holidays in the fall. But, when it came time to celebrate Christmas, everyone was up in arms about doing a Zoom Christmas. So I just want to say it can be done. And
it can be.
It's not the ideal scenario, but it's what you sort of have to do right now.
I like when there's the big family ones, and then you convert to the small. So the big family ones where everyone gets the smallest square possible, and we all talk over each other. I think it's a very effective Seder.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's what we're sort of known for as a people, is talking over one another. So it really, the whole Zoom experience just crashes in that scenario.
Yeah. It's gonna I hope you have a good Seder experience as much as you can. But, yeah.
my mother is in our bubble, so Renee and I will be at my mom's tomorrow night for a little small celebration.
I love that. I love Renee. She's such a sweetheart. I haven't seen her in a while. How's she doing?
She's doing great. She was just in studio yesterday. Right now she's the voice of Lysol Canada. So
I saw that in her bio. That's amazing.
She's been going in a few times. Initially in the lockdown, the one product that was flying off the shelves that didn't need to be advertised was Lysol. But eventually they had a back to school campaign, so they brought her back in, and she's been going in fairly consistently for that. So it's a great little gig.
Is that union? Is she part of the union?
She is now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Do you do voice, or are you mostly behind the scenes, or do you do in front of the scenes? Oh, in front of the scenes? No. That sounds wrong.
No, I am not in front of any scenes. I'm strictly behind the scenes. The last time I performed was I was also at Hart House Theatre. Was in a production of, when I was at the University of Toronto, I played Matilda Taylor in Fiddler on the Roof. I have a story about that. I'll tell you in a second. And then I played one of the Jets in West Side Story the following year. And then the year after that, I directed The Music Man. That was my first experience directing. And then I went back later and we did, as you mentioned, Jerry Springer. We did, the best experience was doing High Fidelity, which was a musical based on the Nick Hornby book and the movie. All original music, flopped on Broadway, only ran 10 days in 2006. But I love the score, and we got the rights to do it. We did the Canadian premiere of that at Hart House 10 years ago now, which is crazy to think that. But that's the last time I performed, was when I was in university. But I understand the appeal, because I'm not a performer. I don't really want to be. But the day after our opening night performance, I was walking through the quad, I think it was at University College, and I got stopped by somebody who recognized me from the show. Now, Hart House only seats like 400. Well, no, that's not 400. I can't remember I think it's 454. So there's a limited number of people who could have seen me and who I could have ran into. But I got stopped and told that I did a good job. I'm like, oh, I see why people enjoy doing this. Your producing credits are beyond numerous at this point. And I think the producer is such a thankless job. I don't know how you do it. I really don't. The reason I went to the University of Toronto is because I wanted to, you don't actually make movies there. I was a cinema studies major. So you don't make films, you watch films and you analyze them and you dissect them. It's like an English degree, but instead of books, it's movies. But it was a school I wanted to go to, and what I liked was that it was in downtown Toronto, and so between classes, or if I didn't have classes on a morning or in an afternoon, I could use the time to go and intern or volunteer and just get some experience in the industry, so that when I graduated, I had the degree from the school that I had wanted to go to, but I also had a resume of stuff that I'd worked on. And I thought that would help me be employable after school. And I actually found that I couldn't get work for the first year after school. Well, just because it's such a competitive industry.
Yeah, okay.
So that was when I started using my piano playing skills more and more, was getting involved in theater and playing for auditions and rehearsals and cabarets and workshops and shows, which is how I met Renee. But because we did a show together. But yeah, so I had sort of always wanted to get into TV and broadcasting. Went to U of T for film because it was the school I wanted. It was the closest thing they offered. In retrospect, schools like Ryerson have a much more robust school that prepares you for that world. But it's been, it sounds cliche, but it has been quite a journey to sort of get from, U of T film school graduate to producing television now.
Just like the modest whatever television you produced. I was watching, I can't get over this. I'm watching the Howie Mandel special produced by Mark Sell. I'm like, Mark Sell? I know him. He did this? It was, and you're just like, yeah, I got a couple credits, whatever. I mean, I have 2 pages worth of what you've done, and it's amazing. How do you like, what was the first, not to say that you've made it, but what was that first feeling of, this is, I mean, do you ever feel like you've made it? Is that a feeling?
That's a good question. I, for a long time, so early in my career, I was working on Air Farce, the weekly sketch comedy show on CBC.
That's funny stuff.
And when you're and we taped, and the production company had offices at the CBC Broadcasting Center right downtown. So what's kind of nice about that is you're working in a building. It's kind of like working at 30 Rock in the US, or working at CBS Television City in LA, where all these resources are under one roof. There's offices, there's sound stages, there's a graphics department, there's a legal department, there's a cafeteria, it feels like old Hollywood. It feels like show business. It feels like, now I haven't worked in that building for a while. I gather things have changed and cut back, so it may not feel quite the same. But working on a show like Air Farce, where we were using one of the big sound stages, one of the big studios on the 10th floor of the CBC, you have sets laid out all across the studio floor. You have quick change rooms in the back. You have hair and makeup people. It really does feel like that's the way TV used to be made. And I was fortunate to sort of be in that environment. And when it was still being made, there's very little of that on TV now. Closest thing might be 22 Minutes, which is still on the air, but is shot out east. But working on a show like that, being in a studio with a live audience, with multiple cameras, with sets being wheeled in and out, with wigs and props and makeup, and that was the first time where I was like, this is cool, and this is exactly what I wanted to do when I got into television. And I wish there was more of that. I wish there was more sketch comedy in this country in front of an audience. We obviously have shows like Baroness, Fun Sketch Show, and Tall Boys, but everything is shot on location, and those shows are built in the edit suite. So you don't get the immediate response. On Air Farce, we shot on Thursday nights, and we aired on Friday nights. So we turned that around in 24 hours. And actually, for one season, we went live to air. So we did the show live, and the country saw it as we did it, which was the best experience, because it combines everyone's theater background. All the artisans that worked on the show, from costumes to hair and makeup, they all had theater backgrounds. They all came from Stratford, the opera, Mervish shows, you name it. So they all loved working on the show that season. I loved it because of my theater background. What was interesting, the quality of the show was a little different, because we had gotten to a point where things were a little more fast-paced. Even in that 24-hour turnaround, you can edit out jokes that don't work. You can make small cuts here and there just to make a faster paced, better quality show. And when you're live, you're live. But I think for me, the appeal of a show like Saturday Night Live is the fact that it's live to air. And if there are mistakes, they go out for everyone to see. That's the fun of live theater. That's the fun of live TV. So I wish there was more live TV, but it's still cool to work on projects like the Howie film that you saw. And thank you for mentioning that, because it is available to stream on Crave for anyone who's interested in checking it out.
You know, it was amazing. I've heard of Howie Mandel, as has the world. But I also heard of, I heard of the chocolate bar story where, so for those of you who don't know the story, there was a chocolate bar that looked like someone had taken a bowel movement, placed at the bottom of a swimming pool. Mm-hmm. And I never knew that was Howie Mandel. I just knew the story. And that's the guy. I've been hearing of the story when I didn't want to do swim classes. That was what I always thought. Maybe I should put No Henry at the bottom of the pool. He inspired that. I never did it, but he's
it's one
fascinating
of those legends that you just don't think, is that actually true? Is it really true? But he did it, and it's lived on. And if you grew up in Toronto and you had a pool in your school, you probably knew the story. I find, especially in the closely knit Jewish community in Toronto, it's the funny part about working on a film about Howie was everyone saying, I went to school with Howie. Oh, I went to his synagogue. Everyone has a connection, a personal connection to him.
True.
I ate next to him at Bregman's once. Oh my gosh. He was so nice. He was with his family.
See, and I was so drawn to his spouse. And I thought, because I know I'm doing all these crazy things, and then just like my husband is so supportive, and I thought, what a supportive spouse to see. Like, I so admire that, because it's really hard when you're in this industry and just creating, and you never know what's going to happen, and taking so many risks. But when you have someone by your side supporting you, I was in awe of her. So
she's fantastic. And she obviously puts up with a lot. He is on the record about his mental health, and that extends from his ADD, which wasn't diagnosed when he was a child. It was diagnosed later in life when he was in his 40s. But he has so much energy even now, and he's 65. I mean, 64 when we made the film. But to be, that age and have that kind of energy, it's kind of remarkable. And you have to be able to keep up. And Howie Mandel was always a little manic, so the fact that she's been able to keep up all these years is really a testament to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
But she's wonderful, and he's great. And I have to say, the one comment I've been getting a lot from people who saw the film is, he seems like such a mensch. Is he a mensch? And I said, as much in that film as he seems like a mensch is a decent person, for anyone who's watching and doesn't know. That's the easiest definition. But for anyone who's watching, as much of a mensch as he seems in the documentary, I actually found him to be even more so in real life. He's really just a genuinely good person with just boundless energy, and even in support of this film, he's been willing to do like Instagram Live chats with film festival directors around the continent. A lot of Barry Avrich, the director, and Howie just did a Zoom chat with the director of the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival, because they screened the film recently. And he's just, he's just got so much. He's just got he's got so much going on, but he loves it. He loves being busy, and he loves being active.
I love to hear that, though. I love to know that someone is as genuine as they seem on television, if not more genuine in person. Because, I mean, there could be some really great actors out there.
Nathan joined the video. If Nathan's still here. Hey, Nathan.
So you work, pardon?
There's a few people that have joined. Let's see. Anyway,
there is. I have 15 minutes left, so I have a lot of stuff I have to get through. If we could stay on track,
sorry.
There really is no agenda. But what I was going to ask, because as I'm looking at your website, which is also in and of itself, how are you doing everything? Do you work with so many stars, and to a point where, what's the weirdest request you've ever gotten from a star?
Oh,
Is that a hard question? I can do an
I
easier one, but I
find,
love hearing weird requests.
here's the thing. I find that there really aren't weird requests from stars. I
Hmm.
find if they're in a situation where it's, if they are in, um, if they're in a situation where they need something, they need it for a reason. Um, I find the weird requests come from publicists who
Interesting.
think they know what their clients want, but don't necessarily. Uh, I think they're always just kind of trying to cover themselves, and rightfully so. They have a hard job, but I think I would say requests that have come from stars are fairly normal, but the publicists can be a little interesting.
Oh, see, that's good to know because in my head, if I ever become big and famous, I started to create an absurd list. But
Oh,
now I
good.
know I'll give it to my publicist and I'll be, that publicist of Robyn's, please.
Well, the joke of it is, right, that people say, the classic rock star thing was, only green M&Ms in a dressing room or something. But of course, as most people know, that was really done to make sure that the promoters were reading the contracts. That wasn't done because the stars were, or the musicians or the group in that case, were partial to just red M&Ms or whatever it was. It was to make sure that they were reading, the contracts were being read so that if they're asking for something, they're actually going to get it.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Huh. That's so interesting. Cool. So how do you decide on, so you're working on, oh my gosh, I can't remember the exact name of it. Oh, yes. Oscar Peterson, Black and White. So that's the current one you're working on, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
that's the new documentary. It's for also for Bell Media, and it will be, if all goes well, it will be streaming this fall.
Cool. And how do you decide on what you're going to work on next? Or do you work with the same people over and over again? How does that work?
I've been working with Barry Avrich quite a bit lately on a number of projects. We've done
Right.
the Scotiabank Giller Prize. We did the Howie Mandel film. We've done some virtual galas in this new space that we're in. So it's been actually a really great collaboration. But generally, I've sort of gravitated more towards, and it's interesting because now I've been doing a couple of documentaries like Howie and the upcoming Oscar Peterson film. But I always used to sort of gravitate more towards shows that were live to air, live to tape. I loved working. Oh, is Laura here? Well, I was just about to say to Laura, I worked for a few years on the Canadian Screen Awards. So another live to air TV award show. Anything in the comedy or variety space was always appealing to me. And I mentioned Laura because Laura works for the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television. So we would work together on those shows. But anything that's, I love being in a studio. I love being, oh, there's Laura. Hi. This is so weird and interactive.
You know what? There is also a delay on the comments, which is entertaining because sometimes when I talk really fast, I thought, what are they commenting on?
Right.
So yeah, it's a learning
So if I say
process.
hello to Allie McKay. Allie McKay just joined. And if I say hello to her, she might type a comment back and I won't see it for, oh, geez. Oh, Barry Avrich has joined now. And he's
Okay, all right, stop talking.
No, it's okay. I told him I had a call from 12 to 12:30. Now he knows it's with Robyn.
Hi.
But yeah, but it's funny because we were just talking about the Oscar Peterson. He's directing and the executive producer of the Oscar Peterson film.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Barry now.
Lots of hair gel.
I'm like, not me.
No, that's a common complaint of his against me. I should say I'm just dying for the salons to reopen, and I really don't understand. I mean, if the numbers are soaring as they were yesterday, where we're at 2,400 in Ontario, it doesn't make sense to me that we're opening things up. But as long as things are opening up, why are we discriminating against hair salons where they had pretty good protocols in place before the second lockdown? So
yeah, I
go back in.
I feel, yeah, as someone who hasn't cut their hair in almost 2 years, I'm like, okay, so Rapunzel over here, I'd like a little trim.
Wow.
It's a while. Well, I didn't really get it right away. And then when they reopened, I was a little paranoid and I missed my chance. And I thought, oh God, okay, maybe I can donate No, it's not about hair, Barry. This is very serious discussions that we're having, but
It's been all over the place. We've talked about Passover.
we have.
We've talked about Oscar Peterson and Howie, and we've talked about the University of Toronto.
We did.
Hair only came up when Barry joined.
That's what happens. I mean, he brought it up, and we're trying to address our viewers. We're being good people, I think. I did have a question regarding, I think the Canadian Screen Awards. Is that correct? Did I call it right?
That's what it's called, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So were you part of organizing it while you were nominated for awards?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a conflict of interest right there?
So Barry actually brought me on to the Canadian Screen Awards in 2017. I'd worked on the show before when it was the Genies and the Geminis, when we had two separate award shows for Genies for film, Geminis for television. But then they were merged in 2013. It became the Canadian Screen Awards. And I hadn't worked on it. And then Barry brought me in when Howie Mandel, oddly enough, hosted that year, which was a lot of fun, live from the Sony Center. And yes, to answer your question, I was nominated when I was working on the show, which makes it awkward, I think, for the people in the office who have to tabulate and create lists. And of course, none of the nominees can know. So I didn't envy their having to sort of maintain the integrity and the secrecy with someone in the room who would have knowledge of that.
Well, I mean, here's my question. Do you think that you should have won and that they didn't let you win because it would have looked like some kind of inner deal?
No, it's all
okay.
It's all based.
I like conspiracy theories, but you're not buying it, so I appreciate that. Okay.
No. And if Laura's still on the call, then she'll. Oh, geez, my mom just joined. Okay.
Oh, that's so fun. I was in a clubhouse the other day. My dad joined something I was moderating. I thought, oh, do I change how I talk? This is very uncomfortable.
Your dad has clubhouse?
I invited him. I don't know. I invited, my youngest brother has Asperger's. So I'm like, hey, connect with people, and like in the film industry, because he's good at talking and, might as well. And he's really good with technology. And then now my whole family's on board. So we'll see. Maybe they'll come into every single room I'm doing. And I'm like, this is uncomfortable. He was up. Oh, the B'nai B'rith Man of the Year.
Yeah.
That's who you were up against?
No, I wasn't. I've never even been nominated for that one.
Oh, I thought that was a real thing. This is the most gullible I've been. That seems like it should be a thing. Okay.
No. The funny thing is I joined Clubhouse and then I haven't really used it a lot. But I'm fascinated because I know you are very involved in Clubhouse. So tell me about some of the benefits and why I should be more involved.
Okay, can I tell you, I have no idea how every Instagram Live ends up being about Clubhouse. I'm not getting paid to advertise. No, because I am always on it. I'm either doing an Instagram Live or I'm on Clubhouse. And for me, I just like connecting with people. So I know I have a Toronto actors group just because I want to meet my fellow Toronto actors. Mm-hmm. But it's also I did one, so I'm also a physiotherapist. So I did one regarding health and long-term effects of COVID with people in the UK yesterday. And I thought that was so interesting. Their information regarding the effects of long COVID, they call it. And it was just having access to information that I wouldn't normally have access to. So I think it really depends on what you hope to get out of it. But for me, it's information and meeting interesting people.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
there you go.
I know you only get out of something what you put into it, and I haven't put a lot into my Clubhouse experience yet. Other than a couple of private rooms, which is kind of nice to chat with people. And
it's like a big phone call.
See, to me, Clubhouse, I understand from a practical standpoint. If you have a bunch of people that you're collaborating with, you don't need to set up a conference call if you just want to do an audio session. Everyone can just join the same private Clubhouse room and you can talk without having to do Zoom and worry about video and without having to have a conference call with a code to dial it. So I understand it from a practical standpoint, but I know that it's obviously useful beyond that.
I would think so, but I like the concept of I can multitask. So I'm in a room, but you also don't have to see my face. So with this, I'm like, I have to sit here, I have to talk. It's very focused and
Right.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. I have to respond to comments made by Barry sometimes. It's exhausting, honestly.
He's your biggest fan. Normally, when we try to have lunch around this time every day, and he's like, I can't eat until Robyn's show is done, and then we can go get a lunch.
Thank you, Barry. I don't know if that was sarcastic or not, but I'm going to take the compliment. So
just take it. Just take it.
I'm gonna take it. Oh my gosh, are we at the 30-minute mark? I'm super nervous. Okay.
We are. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other than everyone should check out your website and see how awesome you are, because you're doing so many things, and I haven't even broached all like your entire resume, and you have a skills section on your resume that I'm like, this is so, you do everything you do with all the, anyways, check out his website. Is it markselby.ca? Was that what it was?
markselby.ca.
I'll add that in the little.
People should just check out the Howie Mandel movie, Howie Mandel, But Enough About Me. That's what it's called. And it's streaming on Crave. So check that out. If you haven't yet. It's really fun. Other than Howie Mandel, any other plugs? No, but, oh, there we go. And the person I'm supposed to meet with has just joined the Instagram Live. So now he knows what I've been doing for the last half hour. I apologize. Okay, I'll let you get back to your, okay. Well, they want to know what's going on. Why can't they meet with you? And this is what's happening. Some very important discussion. This works out well. Nick, I'll be right with you. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Mark, for doing this. It was so great to catch up and chat with you. And Hag Sameach, happy Passover. Hag Sameach, good to chat with you. And thanks for inviting me. And good to see you virtually. Hopefully I'll see you again in person before long. Sounds good. Okay. Bye. Bye.